Your dancers do things that most people would consider impossible, though interestingly enough, the word impossible actually says I'm possible. So,
that's beautiful.
what do you believe? Is anything truly impossible, or is the words I'm possible or is it the words I'm possible define the boundaries that you see for yourself?
Go.
Okay, because I'm possible, I think, is what she gives the dancers. She gives I'm possible. She demands, she wants to see, she asks for the impossible. And in reality, we are human beings. People break and die and fall. And so I think the film really poignantly points that out, that, I don't think anybody's died yet. Nobody has yet died. Okay. But, I'm just saying that, impossible, possible, I'm possible. That is the power for me in, in the work. Because I'm not going to go anywhere unless I ask whether I can. Mm-hmm. So, if you ask me a question, then I'm going to try it. Okay. Now, the thing is that if I try it, I might not do it, but I'm going to learn a lot on the way. And I don't have to kill myself. I could do some pretty amazing things without killing myself. But you have to ask that question, and it has to be way out there for me to have any journey to get there. So that, I think it's a very sensitive topic, actually, because we don't want to die, really.
Yeah.
I know we do sometimes want to die, just because it might be interesting. But there's that space. There's a space there, and I'm possible is just beautiful. You have to coin that. That's great. Impossible, impossible. That's great.
Put your name on it, trademark. I think failure is a huge part of any single thing we do. There must be thousands of failures with every move we've been able to coin as part of our vocabulary. So we embrace failure. We spend more time on failure.
Yeah.
And as Hope mentioned, which of course embodies discovery. Like if you do something you can do, not only will I not learn anything, or the audience not, you won't, and I don't want to see that. And so, and you're only as strong as your weakest link. So there's a vivid responsibility on each body to understand where their weakest link is. So like when Hope was talking about weightlifting, or, et cetera, and they address that. I'm not the educator. I've never been interested, nor do I know, or have skill for education. But I think the idea of thinking that, what looms out there is infinity. And I think that I'm only obsessed with what hasn't been done, because I think that will be like, well, what just happened? You can't, like an accident on the street, God forbid, they aren't mortal accidents. But when it happens, what's more interesting than that? That person can't even remember how they fell down or why. And it happens so fast. And I just think that the power of action, too, to be a purveyor of all things about life, is so unexplained, because when you go to a musical concert, and this is a difference between interpretation, knowledge, like bodies of knowledge aren't really bodies of knowledge until you're able to really develop a vocabulary and remember what you saw. But you could go to a whole dance concert and not remember one move, just sort of remember the music, which somehow is abstract, sounds are as abstract as movement, and yet people can remember symphonies and whatnot. And I have a vested interest in figuring out what the nomenclature and the lexicon is for action. And I think it has to be named by some academic or some scholar, so that memory can come into the re-experience of what someone witnessed there. And I think that if you can't remember something, and this is, going off on saying, like, I want to do something impossible, why? So that people will always remember that and be able to, like when you're singing a tune or smelling cut grass, your heart can soar with a short memory of what action you might have witnessed a while ago, might have been.
Mm-hmm. Right, that is the practice, right? You ask an impossible question, the dancer attempts it, and then probably learns a lot in that journey of failure, and then the dance is made.
But
sometimes.
Now definitely, but you know what happens now? Every time one thing about forces is that, I've cut every little extra bit out, thanks to Robert Woodruff, our director. But also, every time we go back in, it changes. They have another move, or they add another move in, and I throw another
okay,
move out.
okay. So there's
Constantly
improvisation.
It's not improvisation. No, it's in rehearsal. This happens.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't like improv. I think
I
you invented
know.
improvisation. I'm not going to watch.
no, but
an
so
audience.
explain that again.
Which one?
In rehearsal.
Oh, no. Yeah, they'll say, "Look, what about this?" Like Daniel does a solo with the I-beam faster than anyone else can get out of the way with the I-beam, and that's in the dance. I go, "Okay, cut this."
That's invention, not improvisation.
That's invention, exactly. And you know that he's thought about that or she's thought about that, and hey, can I try this? And then I go, yeah, that's better than what I chose over here. We'll finish it. So the endings change, the internal part changes based on what they keep bringing to the work, rather than, oh my God, we're doing that same show all over again. I think I'm going to just barf.
Oh, that's fabulous, because you guys have the space, you have the place
Yeah.
to continue
Yeah.
repeating the work and developing the invention. Yeah.
But maybe that is a problem with modern dance. That action, the nature of action can't be repeated, really.
No. it
And so
cannot.
you go and you see Revelations by Alvin Ailey, or you go and see it's really the same choreography. And I think that's an error in judgment about what the form of movement could possibly
That's
be.
actually quite good. Yeah.
I think I'm right.
Yeah.
But, I argue with the dance people, but they're like,
No, that's so
They get
real.
very insulted.
Because yeah, I
I
mean,
say, well, I'm right, you're wrong. And then I smile, and then it'll be a different field. It's not really dance. It'll be action in 50 years, probably, with hardware. It'll be its own field.
Well, yeah, and then you were talking about how music is more easily remembered. But then, what do you think about the types of music, like, for instance, jazz and improvisation? That you say improvisation is not really the same thing. Is what in music? What do you think about improvisation?
Well, I think sound lends itself to that in a very profound and radical way. I think music is a true enemy of dance, and my purview is movement. So I don't care that much about music. It doesn't have any problem existing in the world. And I think movement as an art form has a serious problem existing in the world.
but so that's so profound because it's like social action. It's very risky. Why
What's
wouldn't
risky?
action? Pure action is risky.
It's very, very, very upsetting to people
Yeah.
when they see it.
Yeah.
But it's just time, and I'm doing it. I don't know why I'm doing it. I was born, and I had a very radical upbringing. Not radical, more so than a ballerina, or maybe more so than Hope. But you can't compare people's upbringings and what questions come to you when you walk into when I walked into a dance studio for the first time, because I had been a downhill skier and a motorcycle rider and softball, basketball. That was my thing, and I was 17 before I did my first plie. Say, Elizabeth, do a plie, and I was like, well, what's a plie? Oh, okay, all right, I can do that. Bend my ankles and my knees, relax. But then I kept thinking, I wonder why there's mirrors in here. I wonder why the floor's hard. I wonder why they're asking me to count my moves. So I think I had this enormous advantage because I was really an idiot savant. And I walked in there, and I knew I was wrong, I knew that I stopped moving so muscularly. But there was this little tiny, tiny voice, through my whole teens and 20s that said, well, I think it might be a good question. I'm just going to write it down and get out of here and do whatever I want.
Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely spectacular.
Fabulous interviewer.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very
Great
good.
questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much.